Hello, my name is Scott Robinson. I'm a front-end mentor, Angular course lead, and Ruby on Rails course lead at Thinkful. And I wanted to talk about a library that I'm developing today. I'm calling it Angular Now. The library's intention is to basically allow you to write Angular 2 applications right now. So you'll be able to write Angular 2 exactly according to the spec on the angular.io site using all of the same syntaxes from the Angular.io site. I'm focusing on the TypeScript version at the moment, so you can write it in TypeScript, Angular 2, and basically this library translates it down to Angular 1 and allows it to work in an Angular 1 application. This library I just started working on a couple days ago, and it's already gotten to the point where we have a working, functioning example, which I want to show you. And I am looking for feedback from the community, suggestions, thoughts, if anyone wants to help contribute, and just ideas or things like that. The repository is GitHub Snareshops at Angular Now, and it's again just opened, did it a little bit ago. I have a Gitter chat. Please feel free to join in and talk about it. And basically, what this application or what this library is going to allow you to do is to write an Angular 2 component into your existing Angular 1 app right now today, without having to wait for Angular 2 to actually come out. And then when Angular 2 does come out, it will you will be able to just delete the wrapper that you have to place around it with the library, and Angular 2 should take over natively. Because you're using the exact same syntax and the exact same everything, Angular 2 should be able to pick that up and move on. And so your migration from Angular 1 to Angular 2 is literally deleting a line or two in a couple of files. That is kind of the goal of this and the vision behind it. And I would love to have other people help contribute to this. And I wanted to go through a little bit of a demo today, just a proof of concept, show you it works. And also just advise you that this is only a couple days old, so it hasn't been bundled or packaged. I will be putting this in Bower, and it's also still very limited in its feature set. But if we can get a couple people jumping on this and going through it, I think this could come out really quickly and be pretty stable. And I think it'll provide a good strategy for writing your Angular 2 applications now. So the one dependency that I have, which is also the same dependency as Angular 2 currently, is this system library that they use. It's a module loader system, and it allows you to use the ES6 style import statements in your application or in your browser. So that will be a dependency. And then the reflect library comes from, I believe, the TypeScript people, and that will actually eventually will be bundled into this library, so you will not need to include that, but for the moment I do. So what I wanted to go ahead and look at was, how do we create an Angular 2 component exactly according to the Angular 2 spec on the Angular.io site, and it work in an Angular 1 application. And so basically what I wanted to show was doing that. So we're going to go ahead and do exactly as the spec says, import component, view, and then we do have to pull in part of the library. And we're going to import that in from the Angular Now library. Okay, so we've imported the library in, and it's time to go ahead and write our component. So we write it again exactly according to the spec. So we create a component and we give it a selector. We'll give it test application. Then we have a view and select. selector. Sorry. Then we're gonna put in a template. Let's just put in template. Really simple, you know, like an H1. Hello from the name library. H1. Okay. And then we create our class. Let's see, my hello component, and that has a public property of name, which is a string, and we'll put a constructor on there. Oh, constructor, and the constructor is going to set this dot name equals Angular now. All right. So so this is the Angular 2 component. This is exactly Angular 2 code. So what do we have to do to get it to work with the Angular Now library so that it injects it into an Angular 1 application? Well, that is just one line, which is really nice because that's the one line. You can put a to-do comment above it, and when Angular 2 comes out, you just remove the one line and you should be good to go. So that's why we pulled in the Angular Now. So we're going to call Angular Now.module, which is exactly the same as the Angular.module. So we're going to pass in something like my app and no dependencies at the moment. Then we're going to create a component, and we're going to pass in the my hello component in as our component. So that's all it takes to patch that into an existing Angular 1 application. So if you're using this with an existing application, all you would need to do is to include your module, and of course not include the second argument, and it will patch it into your existing Angular 1 application. So we're building that. Now we do need to do some things in the view. Obviously we've created a selector. So we need to place that on the page somewhere. So in our index.html, first things we need to do is to create, we need to put the ng app statement because we're still technically running Angular 1. So I called it my app. So that'll initialize Angular 1. Then we need to put our test application component on the page. And another thing is I went ahead and went with the controller as syntax for our applications because it's a much stronger and suggested way other than scope. Besides, you can have, or you will have, nested scopes, and there's not really a good way that I know of at the moment to emulate the Shadow DOM enough that this will work without actually like really getting into Angular 2. And so really all this is a translation layer, so I'm not trying to change the way that Angular 1 works, just literally just translate the Angular 2 code into an Angular 1 directive and then run that. So what I've done is you take your the naming convention that I've used is you take your selector and you camel case it just like you used to do in Angular 1, and that becomes your controller as. So that's the one piece that's not quite clear and isn't defined, but I wanted to use something without having to make you add. I didn't want you to have to put a controller as because Angular 2 is not going to have that. I wanted your code to stay exactly the same besides, you know, the one line and obviously the one piece here, so that your application just works in Angular 2. So that should be all the pieces. Let's go ahead and flip over. I believe I have HTTP server working. Let's just stop that to be sure and I'm sorry. We'll refresh the server. So we're running on localhost 8080. So we go to localhost 8080 and we have hello from the library, which isn't, oh, there we go. Hello from the Angular Now library. So this is actually patching it into Angular 2, or sorry, Angular 1, And I wanted to go ahead and show the next piece that I have. That's, cool enough that, oh, we can translate. We can write a component in Angular 2 and then we can translate it down. I went ahead and went a step further just for this demo. And obviously these are pieces that are going to have to be in your application. So we're going to create a service. At the moment, order matters. So make sure you're creating your services above your components that use them. So let's see, we need to also pull in injectable from the, basically, again, equivalent to the Angular 2 library. Injectable. And this is slightly different. You do have to pass the module in, the Angular 1 module that you want to attach this to. Obviously, that's going to be different in Angular 2. So then you basically just create your class. So we're going to call, let's do a random service, right? And we'll have a function on there, public random, and that's going to return a number, and let's see, basically that's going to return math.random. So we build that code, and so now we have our service, and we're going to inject that into our application. So random service, and that is dependency injection for this library. And it works the same way that the Angular 2 dependency injection is going to work. All you do is pass in the type in TypeScript, and it reads it off of the metadata that gets put out from the compiled code. So just to prove that this works, let's go ahead and put a piece of this in our library. So we will do test application dot number and close the H2, and then we have public number as a number, and let's do random service dot random. Let's see, this dot number equals that. All right, so dependency injection, it just works. So now when we refresh our page, we get a couple errors potentially. Yeah, not pretty. Oh, that's right, because the topmost component has to have the brackets. Follows the same Angular 1 rules. You have to load in your, obviously, presumably these would be in separate files, and you'd create, your actual module. And again, you'd probably be patching this into an existing application, but this will also work for any future applications or new applications that you're working on. So with that small change, we now get hello from the Angular Now library and a random number. Prove it's random by refreshing the page. So that is a potential strategy for how you can write Angular 2 applications today and have them work in your existing Angular 1 applications, such that when you go to move to actual Angular 2, you would need to change this, the from here to Angular 2. You would drop off Angular Now. You would remove these arguments, remove this line, oops, and then you would fix any of these. So there is a little bit of work to do. Obviously, you're not going to get away from doing anything, but this does allow your application to kind of work, which is really nice. Another thing I'm thinking of doing is maybe trying to read some stuff off the DOM, and I would really, at the moment, you still need to use the Angular 1 DOM, HTML stuff, so you still need to do ng repeat, ng model, things like that. However, I am looking into figuring out a way to translate those as well. So you could use the *4 syntax for Angular 2, and it would translate it into an ng repeat in the best that it could. So lots of things and lots of room to go with this translation library. And I would love to get feedback, potential support, and see if these are things that other people are going to want, and would your team use it. So please leave some feedback. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. If you want to check it out, again, the library is github.com/snarechaps/angular now. And please file issues, pull requests. I went ahead and set up a lot of discussions. So if you want to chime in on some of these properties, whether they should or should not be translated, what they would translate to, or if you would like to work on translating that one piece, that would all be great and welcome. Thank you very much, and enjoy Angular.